Sark, what's been the overall focus and goal of this spring?
How do we take the depth that we have and then take everybody to another level? And that takes being intentional by us as coaches. I think that takes being intentional by each individual player so that collectively everybody's taking positive steps moving forward. That's one of the keys. 15 new faces here this spring, getting them implemented into who we are, what we're about. Then also looking at guys that are going into year 2, year 3 with us as a staff and how far can they take it. And I think we've seen growth in all of those areas. And to me, that part is probably the most encouraging thing.
You have two of the most hyped quarterback prospects in years now playing for you with Quinn and Arch. How do they handle that dynamic, being on campus and in the same room together?
These guys are really humble and they want to be great. They know they aren't a finished product yet. And so when we get them here, there's an expectation of how you carry yourself, not only on the field, but off the field. The type of leader you are in the locker room, the type of leader you are when you represent the University of Texas. And I think both those guys, when anybody interacts with them, I think, man, everybody says to me, man, I met Quinn, or I met Arch, or I met Malik. Man, those are great young men. That's what we're looking for in the recruiting process. We look for very specific traits in the quarterback. Some of them are physical, some of them are mental.
How's Arch doing?
He's doing well. Give him a lot of credit. It hasn't been perfect. He's throwing interceptions like every freshman quarterback would. He's made misreads. He's lost his ID twice on campus. I mean,
twice?
He's a college student, right? He's a freshman in college who should still be in high school.
Yeah.
But the growth is there. We're not seeing the same mistakes multiple times on top of each other, that he's learning from it. He's getting better. His composure and poise are very impressive for a young guy.
Wherever I go, people want to know about Quinn. And it really doesn't seem like people actually know what Quinn Ewers is all about as a competitor and as a person as well. What can you tell those people?
He's a great teammate, first of all. I'm going to say that about Quinn. His teammates love him. He works at his craft. He's extremely coachable. This guy is very physically gifted. He wants to be great. Everything was new for him a year ago last spring. Now he's going into year 2. There's a level of comfort, but yet also with the comfort, we're trying to expand that comfort zone. So you have to get uncomfortable again to expand the comfort zone, and that's some of the stuff we're working on with him.
So much hype around your collection of talent there. What do you see that only you can see from that group, from your experience playing the position and coaching the position?
Well, I think one thing that I always look for is composure. I look for poise. You can see that in practice. You can see when things break down. How do you respond the next play when you go out? And I think I've seen a lot of composure out of this group. I think Quinn has really taken his game to another level. I think his rapport with his teammates has gone to another level. But I think his overall just sheer commitment to being the best player he can be. I saw it this winter conditioning. He's in better shape than he's ever been in. His understanding, his confidence every time he takes the field, but yet his ability to bounce back when something doesn't go his way. And I think he's also serving as a really good model for Malik, for Arch, for Charles on this is how you bounce back. It's a heck of a room, but I also think each guy in there is focused on what they need to do individually and not so concerned about what everybody else is doing.
When you first got here, you had some good frontline players. There was hardly any depth. What does it look like now?
Well, I mean, I look at us now. Let's take the offensive line, for example. We're 17 deep. Obviously, with Kelvin and Christian back at tackle, that's great. But we have some young tackles that are on the come. DJ Campbell at guard. Cam Williams is working at guard. Nato's working at guard. Cole Hudson will get that work in. Malik Ogbo. So it's a talented group. We've signed 12 linemen the last 2 years. That creates the depth. Not to mention, we're returning all 5 starters off of last year's team. And so all of a sudden now, you can look at a player and look at him from a developmental standpoint. You can look at another player and say, hey, that guy's going to push for a starting job so that your starters don't get comfortable. And that's what depth provides you. It provides competition. Through competition, everybody should get better.
Let's get into some of the work that you have in front of you. When you now take a player like Bijan out of the mix and you start working through what the process is, how do we replace that production and where does it come from? How do you start going through that dynamic?
I think that's one of the things for us as coaches and historically in our system and in our scheme over time. We try to have enough versatility to what we do year in and year out so that predicated on the personnel that we have, we can direct this offense in a certain way. And I think a lot of that's what spring ball is about. You're trying to find out what is the strength of your team. Anytime you lose a Bijan Robinson and a Roshan Johnson for that matter, not only do you lose the players and the skill set on the field, you lose the leadership as well. And so it's how do you dissect your team to say, hey, this is what we're best at doing. How do we continue to do it that way? But also, man, we were really good at these things last year. Who can fill that void so that we can continue to do those things next year? And so is that one guy? Is that two guys? Is that three guys? And then what makes us do what we do the best? Is that being in 2 tight end sets? Is that being in 3 wide sets? I think our receiver room is as good as it's ever been since I've been here. Maybe there's more multiple wide receiver sets on the field and utilizing versatility of a Jordan Whittington or the versatility of a Savion Red who can do receiver and running back. So that's the fun part as a coach.
Defensive turnaround was impressive with this group. How do you continue that while losing some really key pieces to that group?
We lost some really key components, especially up front. We're returning some really good players too. When you start talking about Byron Murphy, Travondre Sweat, Alfred Collins, Jalen Ford, we do have some holes to fill, but I think overall, naturally, the comfort level for our players in the scheme now, going into year 3, they're not just learning a defense for the first time, they're learning the nuances of that defense. I think our defensive coaches have done a fantastic job of implementation of the scheme, making subtle adjustments to the scheme from year 1 to year 2, and now year 2 to year 3, to put our players in a really good position to be successful come the fall.
Do you believe in momentum away from the field? And if so, does this program have it?
I think momentum is obviously helpful. When a train is moving in a certain direction, it's a lot easier to jump on board because you know it's going somewhere good. Obviously, what we were able to do recruiting-wise, as well as in the portal, as well as the guys that decided to stay in school that could have had an opportunity maybe to go to the NFL. I think we've got a strong nucleus on our team. I'm excited about where we're headed. When you walk through this building, it's all hands on deck. Everybody's rowing this boat in the same direction with an opportunity to try to go do something special.